Welcome to our International Knowledge Day, Rethink Rooftops, at de Rotterdamse Dakendagen. Mijn naam is Leon van Geest. I'm the director of the Rotterdamse Dakendagen. As Nikki there in the back with her waving with her hand also is the director of the Rotterdamse Dakendagen. We couldn't do it without each other. And we're so happy to be here. I think the lunch was one of the highlights with all the people. I ran into Friso, who was one of the first guys I ever talked to about rooftops. And he said, I used to know everybody. Now I know no one. So that's a good thing. That means a lot of new people. And I see also a lot of familiar faces. But the word is spreading and the crowd is widening, getting bigger. And that's what we want. This morning we had a lot of different things, so not everybody was everywhere. So maybe it's good to just see what we did. This morning we started, and now I'm looking around. Yeah, there I see Sophie. We had this morning, we had the topping up meeting. Sophie, can I ask you to come to the front? Sophie was the moderator of this morning. And you know, yes, that's a professional. What did you do this morning?
Well, we had a lot of talks, discussions, presentations with a lot of different people. So owners of buildings, the province, is that the English word? The province, the municipalities, the national government, all working on topping up. So building houses on top of existing buildings.
On rooftops? On
rooftops, yeah.
And what was the spirit like?
Really ambitious, first of all. There was a lot of enthusiasm. 10,000s of houses being built, but
in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam,
in every province,
okay.
But in the province of South Holland, so where we are here right now, there is an ambition of almost 30,000 houses on top of buildings within the coming years.
The coming years, okay.
2035, I think.
I see our vice mayor a bit nodding. Okay.
They said it.
No, so that was good, and I felt a real sense of urgency there. So that was really good.
Yeah, and also it was not only about numbers, so not the almost.
It was about parking.
It was also a lot of discussion about parking, because with all the new houses, how do we park our cars? Yeah, some practical stuff, but it was also about really important the vision. So it's not only about the numbers, but what does it mean for the neighborhood, for the people already living there? What can you do to revitalize the neighborhood? Sustainability, so all these chances.
All making use of that space upon rooftops.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. And I counted it, there were 125 people there, which I think was really great.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. Because there were also, this was the picture we made for this thing. And we also had a meeting on the 40th floor of the Rotterdam, the big building here from the NDP. And NDP stands for Nationaal Dakenplan. And there we have Irene Portinga. Here you are, Irene. Nice of you to be here.
Thank you.
What did you do there on top of that building?
Yeah, the National Rooftop Plan.
National Rooftop Plan, yeah. But we're the Dutch association, so you can say it in Dutch.
Yeah, that's waar. But we are a public-private organization with governments, companies and knowledge institutes working together to make more multifunctional roofs in the Netherlands. But we have the ambition, of course, to go international.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of discussions about shared issues, how to make multifunctional roofs, how to get sustainability in the up-top scene.
Movement, yeah.
Yeah, in the movement, but especially how to make good conditions and standards so it's possible to get these multifunctional roofs.
Yeah. And how big is the National Dakenplan?
We have 50 organizations working together, and it's really unique because we are public-private, so it's the policies we make and also the...
And from the whole of the Netherlands people come.
Yeah.
And what was the hot topic this morning?
Especially optoppen, and that it's not sustainable. It's more about making new... that's also a lot of questions, but how can we use this movement? What's really important? How can we create new buildings, but then sustainable with energy production and green roof and.
And is there still room to
vegetation.
grow for the Nationaal Dakenbank? Can people go to you and say, "Hey, I want to be part of that"?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
It would be nice.
This is Irene.
Yeah.
You can go to her
Yeah.
if you want to join that. Thank you very
you.
much. How many people were there this morning?
60.
60 people. So that's also really nice. Then we had this other meeting at the tree, which were from the ECRN, which has a European name, European Creative Rooftop Network. And I'm going to talk to that with Bruno. Where is Bruno?
Here.
There. Come over here, Bruno. Oh, he was not prepared. Didn't we tell you?
No, but
You're on your best when you're not prepared.
Yes.
Bruno is all the way from Portugal, so that's why he's dressed up and with a hat and everything, because he's
it's really
very
cold.
cold. When you're on a rooftop, I've been a lot on rooftop in Faro, in his hometown, where he works at the...
Where I wear a t-shirt.
Where you wear a t-shirt all day, and we have warm rooftops. This is rooftop weather in the Netherlands, and still it's nice. Do you amuse yourself here?
Yes, a really great environment this morning. Thank you very much for providing this.
And how was this morning?
It was great. We had really nice conversations with the ongoing partners of the ECRN.
Look,
But also-
these are the partners. You cannot see that, but now people see who the 9 partners are of our current network.
Exactly. And we also received new guests from other countries.
Now
And-
people see all the other countries.
Wow, this is not planned. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And then we also had an elephant.
And what was the elephant in the room?
I thought you had a picture of an elephant.
No. But was there an elephant in the room?
No, it was not. It was actually good, very good environment, and people were really keen to cooperate. So we received the people from other countries, from other cities. Some are from their municipalities, some are NGOs, associations, and there's really a good intention on keep on going what this project brought. And that will end in November this year, but we have new plans for the future, and
With all these new partners.
with all these new partners, exactly.
And we gathered here today, and I counted 40 attendants, so that's also more than 9, so that's really good.
It was really great.
And you're here all weekend with the whole
We'll be
international
a whole
guests.
weekend here, checking some rooftops, and also have a partners meeting on Monday and Tuesday to talk about the project and the ongoing projects.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bruno. And then we had a rooftop excursion. There was a bus and it went to 2 beautiful rooftops. And I'm going to talk to that with Lioba. There she is. I met Lioba in Mannheim at a conference of the... I have to go this way. At a conference... Oh, no, I have here one for you. At a conference of the BDCSE...
BCSD.
BDCSD, and which stands for?
We are the German Association for City and Town Marketing and Management.
And you thought, oh, it would be really nice to come to Rotterdam and visit the rooftops.
Yes, after you sold it so well in Mannheim, we had to see it ourselves.
And did it please you? Did it please you?
Yes. Today we saw 2 very interesting and also very different kind of rooftops. First, the Dole, which
Picture.
is on...
Yeah, you
that's
cannot
good.
see it, but there you see it.
Which is on top of a concert building, and they have found very interesting that it's a building that is a monument, but they still managed to transform the roof and with a lot of biodiversity, bringing green into the city. So that was very interesting. And the second one was the Hofbogen. That was especially interesting to us because for us, it's with rooftops, it's really interesting to see how you can make them into public spaces. And this is an old train track where they are now starting to make a public park from it. And it was also very interesting to see for us the method that you first make a mock-up for a few meters to show the people, also the people living in the area, how it could be, and that you can imagine how it could be. So yeah, very interesting.
Okay, well, very nice. And how many people are you here from your
We
organization?
are with 8 people today,
With 8
yeah.
people. And
Yeah.
the whole bus was filled with around 40 people, I think.
I think, yeah. It was quite a big group, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much. So this is my little bridge to something that the municipality did. And when you're talking about the municipality, we are always talking about the vice-mayor. So because she is part of this plan. Can I have a warm welcome for Chantal Zegers, vice-mayor responsible for climate, construction and housing.
Yeah, thank you.
So climate, construction and housing, that's quite a task.
Yes, it is.
How do you do that in this, well, not too well conditions, I think?
Yeah, well, it's a challenging topic and task we're facing on climate, on housing and construction as well. But I strongly believe in the combination of the three, because I really believe that people are more happy in sustainable homes, in sustainable environments, and also in sustainable buildings. So I really like to combine the three and make a sustainable city as such. And that's why I'm really glad to be here, to have a small role in this program, because
an important role for us.
Important, because I really like it when we work together in the city with people like you, who are more like design thinking architects, developers, who we really need to get this task to get things ahead, because we need creativity and cooperation. Not only in Rotterdam, and I really believe in cooperation in the Netherlands, but also in Europe, might even go further. But because we need all smart solutions to reach to these sustainable cities.
Yeah. Can you say something about what the city of Rotterdam already does to stimulate rooftop use?
Yes, well, we have different programs. For instance, we have two directors who are very enthusiastic. Within our city government, we launch projects like we've seen, like the Hofbogen, for instance. But we also have an infrastructure where we can exchange knowledge, experience new ideas. But we also have projects like optoppen. We are very adamant to do that. But it's not only the optoppen, because with optoppen you get a new roof.
Yeah.
So
what do we do with the roof then?
What we do with the roof, and I believe, and I thought it was very good that it was mentioned that optoppen should be sustainable as well. Yeah. And that's a very important task. But we can use the roofs on all different sorts of ways, and we have different projects to do so.
Do you have a favorite roof? Because you were not this was the first time you were here. So wow, this is a beautiful roof.
Why didn't I know this? Yeah.
Then the other question. So we as an organization, as the Rotterdamse Dakendagen, but also a knowledge day like this. What can that contribute to the task you are ahead?
Well, I think roofs can have different functions. Like here, it's a place to meet people, to also have a different view on the city, which is inspiring. When I look around, I never see this way, this neighborhood. So it's also a social function, but you can use it for optoppen, you can use it for green, but also for water retainance. And I think it's going to rain some. So
yeah, we need to contain
in a half an hour or something. So we use our roofs as well to get the water in crates. We use it on Dakpark, which is one of my favorite roofs, though.
There we are, Emiel.
Dakakker. I don't know if Emiel is here.
Emiel's here.
But it's one of his inventions to retain rain in crates, so we can hold it.
It's the same which also happens now on the Doelen.
On the Doelen and also on the Hofbogen Park.
Yeah.
So these are inventions, and creativity, as I said, is very important. And so that's why you can help us.
Yeah. Okay. And is there anything you want to, the people to take home? As a
gift?
From you.
Well, get inspired by the things we do with our roofs. But I'm also very curious what your ideas are. So it's, I think, cooperation and knowledge exchange is a two-way street. Yeah. So let's use this two-way street and inspire us as much as we hopefully can inspire you.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's start with inspiring each other. And I think you already did that. Thank you very much, Chantal Zegers.
Have a good day.
So, that was this morning, and now we are opened. I start with a small rooftop talk. Then we have the rooftop speakers who are really professionals. Beatrice Galilei, Francine Hube, and Emiel Arends. If you look at the program, you see that Francine is talk for 1.5 hours. She's not going to talk for 1.5 hours. And also Emiel, you can see, he talks minus 45 minutes. He's not going to talk minus 45 minutes. So there was a little mistake there, but I think you'll forgive us. After that, we have rooftop conversations. I see that some people already got a card for the rooftop conversations. They're all there. When we go there, just pick a card with the conversation you would like to have, and then we're going to spread out over the rooftop. A little bit improvised because it's going to rain, but we'll manage. And as always, we choose our rooftop hero. There are quite some rooftop heroes here. In the back, we have Emiel, who was just mentioned. Bruno was on the podium because he did such good European work. Lisbeth, I saw already, who did my favorite rooftop on the Erasmus MC. And of course, our last rooftop hero, the rooftop hero of 2023, only for 3 hours, Jan Henk. Then it's over. But you always have your dakheld spelled. And it's there. That's at the end of the afternoon. The dakheld, the rooftop hero. Jan Henk, kom even here. Because I want to know, and everybody wants to know, there are so many heroes. How can they be a hero? And what does it feel like to be a rooftop hero?
Well, of course it feels great. Because rooftops are great places. And if you're a hero, you get to stand on a lot of beautiful rooftops. Yeah.
Apart from being a rooftop hero, you also organize symposium. You do that in September, so we alternate and try to have this crowd motivate them together, like the motivation that you talked about. This is your thing. People can actually scan it, and now you can make promotion.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the moment to make promotion for the next event. While this is still not done.
No. But
on the 13th of September, it's Friday the 13th. So we had the chance to organize an event on such a beautiful date. It's going to be in Amsterdam on top of a parking garage. We're partnering with Roof Amsterdam, which is like the Rotterdam Rooftop Days of Amsterdam. And on that Friday, we will have our rooftop symposium and continue the conversation that we're having today. So take this opportunity to order your passes. This one will be in Dutch, though. But today, up to Tuesday, we have a special discount. For 50 euros, you can get a ticket. So I hope to see you all there.
So that's really good. Then last year, because we have our dakheld, our rooftop hero, you also have a rooftop award. Last year, we had 2 prizes. One of them was something that did not look really like a roof. Why that choice?
Well, this is a choice that our jury makes.
Yeah. But you know what the jury thought.
But the jury was very enthusiastic about this roof because it doesn't look like a roof.
Yeah.
And it really shows what can be done on a roof if you really take full ambition and approach the roof as an actual landscape. This is why this was awarded the Rooftop Award.
And what I liked really much is that you also had a Rooftop Award for a private rooftop terrace.
So, we felt compelled to introduce a new category, which was the private parties. Because, of course, there's a lot of private roofs that can be changed to these beautiful paradises. And this is a rooftop in Arnhem, owned by Willem. And he has really a paradise there with a lot of green. Inspiring a lot of people to do the same with their houses.
And from the inspiring, because you know all the rooftops, I thought it was really funny that you also have a rooftop of the year every year, which is chosen by the people who are really working on rooftops. And they thought this in Eindhoven was the best rooftop of the year. And I can understand that because it's a beautiful rooftop. But for us, it's not a very attractive rooftop.
I miss a couple of colors.
You miss a couple of colors. But I think it's also nice that we have to come together in how we think about rooftop, because still it's a great rooftop from architecture.
This is great from an architectural point of view,
and probably technically to make it will be.
This was quite a challenge, so I congratulate the winner with this rooftop. Yeah.
But we like more rooftops like this. This was also a competitor. We did not win. This is in Rotterdam on the Casanova. I asked you for your favorite rooftop, and you came up with this one.
yeah, I came up with 6, and I could have come up with a lot of more.
Yeah,
but this is a really nice one that we did in Amsterdam, ownership association that actually has trees on their roof, and those trees that they move in the wind. That way, it doesn't give a lot of weight on the structure, and this is why these trees could be put on this rooftop without alternating anything in the construction. And the roof is really happy, and the people that live there are also very happy. Yeah. And the really great thing here is that they actually cannot even go on the roof themselves, but they were very keen on making an impact with their roof for the city.
And it was a VVE, as we call it in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So that's really nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to not click because someone's going to make a photo. Yes. And then I really love this one. You sent also this one as a favorite rooftop. You came across this in the Ardennes
when
somewhere.
I was vacationing, so I'm a bit of a roof freak. So I saw this one. My children are unrecognizable in the picture. They immediately ran under the shelter. They felt really welcome. And what I really like about this is that it's such a small roof, but it was full of life. It was just earth with all the local vegetation that got the chance to grow and blossom on that roof. So this is great.
And I had one of my favorite rooftops ready, but you sent me the same rooftop with the same photo because this is one of my favorite rooftops. It's a dune rooftop in Amsterdam, which simulates being a dune, and which I thought was quite clever because a dune, it can stand great heat, great water. It's really a Dutch landscape, so it's so appropriate to do that on, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, and the really nice thing, the architect here said when you're on this rooftop, you're in the dune environment, and then the sound of the city sounds like the sea, which is of course a lot nicer than the sounds of the city.
Well, thank you very much, Jan Henk.
Yeah.
One picture I came across in my search for nice rooftops was the Milarbre in Paris, which is not built yet. But when I saw it, wow, this looks really amazing to have this thing. And it reminded me a bit of that maquette we have there of the rooftop villages from Rotterdam. There are plannings like that. And these are dreams very much. And I also came across, but also 2 years ago already, of people in Paris who really want to change this, because every big city has its own typology of rooftops. We have a lot of flat rooftops in Rotterdam. In Paris, they have all these pitched zinc rooftops. And what are you going to do with that? And there were 3 guys who studied at MIT, but were Parisians, and they thought it should look like this. And how are you going to do that? And they just started with making a kind of plan. But what if you find the right place to put beams on and just make terraces on that thing? They say, okay, that's a nice plan, but everybody has nice plans. But these guys actually were making maquettes, and they even made this amazing thing which you can see in Paris. And they organized the Paris Rooftop Days. That's always good to just start your own rooftop day in your city. And Tim of Roofscapes is actually here. Where are you, Tim? He's here in the front. Come on up. Because I find it amazing, because those were all maquettes, but now when you go to Paris and you fly to the sky, you see this. We actually have a first mock-up there. Can you tell something about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Leon, for the shout-out. And thank you for the great introduction of the work we're doing and the system. So we are just completing our pilot project with the City of Paris. We've been working with the City of Paris for about 2 years now, and this pilot project was made as part of a research and development contract with the city. It's a 100 square meter platform. It's a demonstrator, a proof of concept for the solution we're proposing for the City of Paris. And this one is really mostly going to be used to do a lot of quantitative tests. We have captors to heat sensors to measure the heat reduction during the heat waves. We're going to do biodiversity surveys to see how the biocity anchor dimension of the project is performing, and also do a lot of measurements on the water resilience of the system. There's no irrigation, automatic irrigation. We are aiming to only use the rain from the water, so we have retention tanks, and we're also going to measure this. So this pilot is really about getting all the quantitative measurements to demonstrate the impact of the project.
Can you tell me why this project is so sexy? Because you got a lot of media attention. You were on CNN, New York Times, everything. Is that because the three of you studied in MIT, that you're so clever? Or because everybody does rooftop projects here, but they all want to know, because people actually came to me, do you know those guys in Paris? I saw this really great project in Paris. Yeah, I know those guys in Paris. Do you know those guys in Paris? Yeah, I know the guys in Paris. Why is everybody talking about you? Do you have any explanation?
Well, maybe the MIT plays a part, but I think the big thing is that in Paris, the roofs are really iconic. Whoa.
Someone does not agree.
It's the preservation architects. No, so yeah, the roofs in Paris are very iconic and everybody has them in mind. But they're also really untouched. They're kind of this forbidden land. Sometimes you can hop on them and everybody in Paris has done it once in their life and they know it's a great place and they have all these ideas of what could happen there. But it's really hard also to do stuff there because it's a historic city. I mean, it's a subject that probably also exists in many other European centers, but traditionally, there's a lot of people who are trying to protect these roofs so that nothing can happen on them, and it's important to protect them. They're part of the historic richness of the city. But I think we took a lot of time to make this discussion, to talk with the preservation actors, to find an agreement, to be able to propose something. And I think enabling this and finally be able to come on this roof is something that's very attractive for everybody living in Paris.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Can I have a big applause for Tim?
Thank you.
Another thing that because Paris very densified, not all cities are very densified. I was really enthusiastic about a project that our neighboring architecture office, we have our Rooftop Days office, and we have a neighboring office, Tom David, and they came up with this idea for Heerlen, which is not a densifying city, but it's a, what do you call it? A shrinking city. There's more room than they need. So what did they do? They just chopped off the top floor. So they created a new rooftop, but accessible with an elevator, sturdy enough floor, and you have a really nice space. This was only an idea, and I saw this. But then I was in Paris, and I met those people who in Paris actually already did this in 2016. And they had the same concept on an old warehouse. And I think it's really great because it's sturdy enough. You don't need to reinforce the rooftop. You have that elevator. And I just wanted to share my enthusiasm about that with you. And looking back, some things are already done. We're now very proud on what we are starting to do here at the Hofbogen. But of course, there's been a High Line for already 10 years there. And that example, well, it always takes some time for people to follow. We are following now with this design. Manchester, 2 years ago, opened up their railway track, which they do. In Camden in London, they also have now plans of doing their railway track of 3 kilometers. And I think it's a trend and we should continue with that. One thing which I hope also is a trend was the thing we did in 2022. This image is not a picture, it's from Apple Maps. If you have an iPhone, if you look at this moment and Apple Maps and you go to the center of Rotterdam, you see our rooftop walk, which we did 2 years ago. I came across that this week and I'm really enthusiastic and I want to share that with you. And also last year we did a project with Lola, who helped us also with the rooftop walk for a proposal for the town square in Eindhoven with a whole rooftop walk around it. And we only came in second place. It isn't going to be realized, but people are really busy with that idea. And also MVRDV, which we made the proposal with. They are really building now. This is a building in Berlin where they make also a big staircase to the rooftop. This is one that's a photo of 2 weeks ago of a building here in the harbor, which they built with, again, a nice stairs to the rooftop. And but it has also been, of course, done before. And I really love this building in Moldavia. I never heard of this town, but I came across this picture. And how nice it is that you have a staircase that goes into your home, but also to your rooftop. I found it very inspiring. This I find also very inspiring. Hedderwick Architects made in Tokyo this amazing rooftop landscape Look it up. It's really great. In Amsterdam, I really love this one. And I saw this, this is something we want on every rooftop. But there was an article in The Architect which said, well, it's a really nice rooftop, but no one uses it because it is too hot and the plants don't grow because it is too hot. And so you always need to think about people using the rooftop. And it's not only a nice design. People using rooftops, another thing that I found very inspiring, is this city in Iran from 969. And what did they do? They built on a hill, and the roads are actually the rooftops. So when you build upon, so then your roads are the rooftops. I've never seen it, and it looks really touristic, but it is not. I can tell you, it's very far away and it's very old. But I really love the idea of making roads of rooftops. This was something I also found, and I thought it was somewhere in Asia, and it was, I think, half a year ago, and I said that this is really, this looks really nice on the rooftop. Then I saw the bigger picture, and I said, wow, this is the rooftop. But what do I see there in the back? Is that something on the rooftop? But that's the Hofpoort in Rotterdam. Why don't I know of this? And it was already in 2001. Someone built a big construction out of bamboo on a rooftop in Rotterdam. And I thought, who was this? Why don't I know this? This is what we wanted to do for many years, and somebody already did it. It looked like this, and it was made by people who were not from Rotterdam, because we don't know how to build bamboo. But it looked amazing when they did it, people going up like this, and all certified by building committee and the fire department. And I'm very happy that the one who did it is now here, Ineke Hulshoff. Here you go.
Thank you.
I was really amazed. So I sent an email, and just within a day she wrote, I was wondering, I saw everything you're doing, and we never heard anything of you. Which was quite a good answer, because it would be very normal to say, okay, you did this once, we're going to do a same thing again. Can we learn from your experience? But we did not know. There are a lot of nice rooftops projects that we do not know of. Go and search for them. Ineke, what happened?
Well, 2001 was Rotterdam was cultural capital of Europe, and this made us think 3 years before, because to do a project in this festival, you need a long time to prepare everything. So I was, for the city of Rotterdam, architect in Shanghai. We did town renewal projects together with Chinese architects from Rotterdam in an exchange program. A friend of mine was a lecturer at the Willem de Koning Academy, Mark Mager, and she said, we have to do something with cultural capital. Ineke, I want to do a scaffolding on the roof of the Willem de Koning building, the former Unilever building, next to the Nieuwe Institute. Yeah. And she said, we can do it with scaffolding, but then it turned to be very, very expensive to use the iron material. And I said, okay, I'm going to Shanghai this year with a group of developers of Rotterdam and the city. Let's try and get it done in bamboo, because we used the bamboo scaffolding in Shanghai, and they make big buildings with that. Yeah. It's a very sustainable material. It grows fast, and you can reuse it. So we took a plan, we made a sketch, she made a sketch, we worked together with my office, and we took it together with these developers who we all got interested in the idea of making this project. Yeah. So with this group, we asked the people of Shanghai to help. And in the end, they came here to do the building. Yeah. In 2000, we went to Shanghai and took the Willem de Koning Academy with us to buy the bamboo. First, we had to find money, because it costs about 1 million guilders. It was still the guilder. Yeah. But the Rijksbouwmeester said, Ineke, you have to go. You have to do this. So we said, okay, we can order the bamboo. We go with the group. We went to the bamboo forests to select a company to join us. And, well, in the end, we got about 10 containers filled with wet bamboo here in Rotterdam in the harbor to make the building with the bamboo builders of the city of Shanghai who were invited by the mayor to stay here for 3 months and
they built for 3 months.
Yes, you saw the picture.
Yeah.
They were here for 3 months. Dura Vermeer was the big sponsor, but not only in money, but also in force. They were helping us. They made an elevator. They had a guy who was educated by these Chinese to keep the building going because it was a bad summer like this.
Yeah. And how was it received by the audience?
It was funny. You could go up with a building elevator, which is also a big adventure. But it worked. We had conferences on the roof. There was a hole. This picture is taken from the roof of the bamboo hole. You could go up the roof.
So we're actually in a bamboo construction right now.
You're in a bamboo construction right now. And the construction in the far end you see is the lantern tower. It was filled with red lanterns who would be lit in the evenings. And the purpose was to get to know you can use the roof for a lot of things. Not just for housing, but also for festivals. And you could see the flat roofs of Rotterdam. You can still see them. There's an extra layer in the city now with these high-rises going up. But in between the high-rises, there's a lot of space. We estimated you could build 3,600 houses in the center of Rotterdam on the existing roofs.
And you did that in 2001. And you told us in 2001 you could do festivals on rooftops.
That's right.
But nobody did it. It took another 15 years to do that.
Well, not really, because this is where we are now, Las Palmas. In the same year, Mechthild Stoelmacher made a
really
folly
nice.
on this.
The Parasite.
The Parasites. And that got something going. And
So there was a shiny green building made on top of this building, sitting there as a parasite for a year, I think.
At least a year.
At least a year.
Yeah. It was a temporary building, like this was too. All the bamboo got reused, by the way. It's a circular building.
Yeah.
It's
did send it back to Shanghai?
No, we got it in the interiors of buildings we were active with, or in gardens, and we sold to people who were in the project or sort of connected to the project.
And how did this rooftop idea? You also started a movement which was called Upper City, Bovenstad.
Bovenstad. Yeah.
And how was that received?
We had a community of practice, and we got subsidized by Habi Forum by that time. It doesn't exist anymore, I think. But they were very enthusiastic on getting pilot projects started. So we had a pilot project in Groningen, in Dordrecht, in The Hague. Erik Vredenburg, he was advertising airtight building, living in the air. Yeah. And he built some very nice apartments on top of houses in Scheveningen, or The Hague. So he made a big plan for the Zwarte Madonna in The Hague, which never got realized, unfortunately.
And where because somewhere it did stop the movement of the Upper City.
Yes, because the finances were gone, and everybody thought, okay, we're now there's things going on, and it will continue.
But it did not really
continue. Well, I don't know. In my practice as an architect, I did a lot of optoppen or reuse of the houses, like the Wallisblok in Spangen. You must know. All the roofs in the Wallisblok are used as a garden. They have the little garden houses on the top. That's also on some old warehouses here in Rotterdam. We have always reused the roofs.
Yeah.
In The Hague, we did the Juno block, which was an office building. We found out these old office buildings are very strong. So here in Rotterdam, there's a lot of them. They were empty. We could make 3 extra layers on top without reinforcing anything in the building. You could just put it on. So we did 2 layers in the end of the Juno block, which is very good. Yeah. And
we're still talking about that with 125 people today, because now there is enthusiasm and they're all willing. And I think you are a great pioneer and showing us this. Can I have a big applause for Ineke? Dank je wel. So now we're back. Now we're finally at the keynote speakers. And I want to introduce the first speaker to you, which is Beatrice Galilei. She only just arrived here in Rotterdam. She is London-based, so she started this morning in London. No, sorry, she's London-born and New York-based. Do I say it right, Beatrice? Yeah. She's a curator, a writer, and an advisor, and internationally recognized for her expertise in global contemporary architecture and design. Between 2014 and 2019, she was the curator of the architecture and design in the Met, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. She was the author of this great book. That's why I know her, which is Radical Architecture for the Future. She's also, that's also important, she's co-founder and executive director of The World Around, which is an organization dedicated to amplifying impactful global design and architecture. So, we have your presentation ready. You are here. We're very happy to have you here. Please come to the stage. Can I have a big hand for Beatrice Galilei? This one's yours. The big one. Yeah.
Oh.
No. Yeah, it does.
Yes. Okay. Leon, thank you so much for the invitation to be here. Thank you, Emma, and all the organizers of this event. Thank you for staying in this slightly dubious weather conditions. But I am British, so yeah, this is a kind of warm summer day for us. I'm gonna, I'm, as Leon said, I'm a curator and writer. My background as an independent curator started in 2009, and I have worked in many different contexts and trying to, I don't know if anyone is familiar with the concept of architecture curator, but it's a little bit of a complicated concept. I mean, it's all about trying to invent architecture from scratch in a way, and a lot of it is commissioning and discussing and being creative and playful with opportunities. So having a look back at my past projects, I was thinking about relationships to the city and how architecture is in these types of dialogues and these types of opportunities to display architecture. These kind of conferences and talks I kind of include as my curatorial practice. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my work at the Met and also my project, which is called The World Around, which I would love you all to visit. We have a website where we have an archive of conversations and talks looking at contemporary architecture. And again, the reason that we have a website and the reason that we organize conferences is it's very difficult to present and curate architecture. So the idea of first-person presentations and first-person communication and storytelling is super important to us. So I guess I'm going to start with an idea about rooftops from a curatorial perspective, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about rooftops and my experience with them as a researcher and writer. I wanted to start with some images from Mishka Henner, who's an artist who I think kind of gives a different perspective of why we're looking at rooftops and the opportunity of looking down, I guess, from things. I don't know if anyone is familiar with these images. Do you know what they are? Can you even guess? They're GPS images, but do you know what they're of? So these are taken from Google Earth, and they are feedlots in Texas. So all of these images are taken from satellites, and each of these tiny brown squares represents a piece of land, and the tiny black dots represent animals. And these are feedlots. This is where cattle is raised and beef produced for McDonald's in the US. And so these images are very lightly edited, but it's obviously an artwork. And for me, it's also in my book, because even though this is a photographic project and an art project, I think it provides us with kind of a valuable lesson in like how important it is to look at things and how important it is to understand how interconnected we are to the food system, how interconnected we are to the landscapes around us, and all of our obligations in a way that we're not necessarily living up to. So when I was at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, we have a rooftop there, which I don't know if you know about that one, Leon, but it's one of the most important rooftop projects in New York. It is an opportunity for artists to respond to the city and respond to the Met. And this is a project by the late Dan Graham, as an artist who many of you may be aware of, who tried to respond to the idea of the Met rooftop with a sort of hybrid project that was a combination of it's a glass pavilion, but it absorbs the idea of the office tower, but it also is an opportunity for people to see themselves in the city reflected in the pavilion. And so when you approach, so he basically landscaped the whole rooftop in grass, and then created these very, very special curving glass that have this super delicate and very, very controlled reflections. So when you approach the glass, you also see yourself looking at the glass because it's double. It has this sort of triple double glazing in different places, and there is also a kind of hedge on the interior of the project. And so the Dan Graham's pavilion and his contribution to the rooftop was also a way of sort of reflecting back the city to all of us and the people that are experiencing it, as well as being quite critical, I think, of the role of the city in New York and how much it manifests the wealth and the privilege and the distance that we have between each other and the city. My first project was this. This is a project by the British artist Cornelia Parker. And when she came to the roof and she found out that she was working with not an art curator, but an architecture curator, she was kind of interested in what we could do together to create a story about Manhattan and also about New York and her relationship to the city and the sort of visual relationship between art, cinema, art history, and New York. And she wanted to basically build. This is a replica of the house from Psycho, if that is making sense to anyone. And she wanted to make the house out of a red barn. So she wanted to fuse these two hybrid conditions. One, which was the architecture as the simple homely life in the countryside of the red barn, which appears in all many Hopper paintings and is kind of often used in civic events for weddings and so on. But also the haunted house and the idea of the house as a place for all of your. In the case of Psycho, it sort of represents where your darkest fears are, where your mother is in the basement, where all of these nightmares happen, and the trope of the haunted house really comes out of the Psycho house and its relationship with this sort of French kind of whatever, however you would call that, rooftop roof line. And we basically tore down a barn and rebuilt every single element of it, but it's a facade. So in a way, you can see this photo shows that the whole house itself is a facade, like as it was on the United lot in LA where Psycho was filmed, and also where many other films are filmed. So the Psycho house itself, even though it was on a lot, remained and continued to be appeared in other houses as haunted houses or in the distance or as a house on the hill. And so the art project was a relationship with both Psycho and the city. Oh no, I'm going backwards, sorry. Like here, you can see the house as something that's perhaps 3D, and then the minute that you kind of walk around it and backwards, you see that the house is also an image, that it's also a sign, that the house and the facade of buildings also have this idea of communicating and what that does to our relationship with architecture as a museum goer. And so this was my first big project. at the Met. And then the second rooftop project was with Adrián Villarojas, who's an Argentine artist who, completely the opposite to Cornelia Parker, was like, well, if we're going to do something on the roof of the Met, if we're going to make a sculpture on the roof of the Met, doesn't that make the Met a plinth? And doesn't that make the whole history of art the kind of part of the sort of like subterranean component of this installation? And so he basically wanted to reproduce and sort of regurgitate the basements of the basement of the Met, or the kind of histories of the Met, into the sculptures, and bring them up through the rooftop installation. So we scanned something like 100 objects from the Met's collection, 3D scanned them, and then milled them and created multiple sculptures. And the idea behind many of these sculptures was that these are the kind of colonial relics that have been dislocated from their pasts and from their contexts, and then by kind of fusing them together and creating these narratives, the art itself was having a different relationship with the city. And you can see that also there are people, this is actually me, on the bottom, those are my legs. Like he 3D scanned people and also integrated them into the sculptures. So the idea of the project was a kind of also a critique a little bit of the way that the Met approaches like the distance between art and objects, and the way that we're not allowed to touch things inside the museum, and that actually all of these objects were once alive and were now not so much. So, like going from my sort of more art projects and art history, one of the other really interesting comments I wanted to make about the idea of rooftops is that many times change only kind of comes after catastrophe, and these are the learning moments that have happened, I think, in many architectural projects and many city projects. And I think that we're in a context and we're in a time where catastrophe is all around us, and the only real positive thing we can do is try to generate change from that, and try to use architecture and design as a force and a transformational tool. This is a city in Bolivia called El Alto, and this is the work of the Bolivian architect Freddy Mamani. And Freddy Mamani's work is not necessarily about rooftops, but it definitely is about catastrophic change and the need and the urgency to use architecture as a tool for visibility, and the need and the urgency to use architecture as a place of transformational change. And in this case, it was about the invisibility of indigenous communities of the Amara people in Bolivia who have been essentially eliminated from their own country over the course of 250 years of colonialism. And his effort in trying to make that history visible through architecture and through these extraordinary brightly colored buildings, but also that they are in their own way economic drivers for people who are part of the Amaran community. And I think another really important catastrophic change is going to be coming through landscape design. In Africa, across the Sahara Desert, there is an initiative called the Great Green Wall of Africa, which is attempting to link all the countries that go from west to east beneath the Sahara Desert that are affected by desertification. And that the cities are drying out, that one of the reasons that we have so much African immigration and migration is due to the desperate situation in the north of Africa. And so there are many initiatives that are trying to connect all of these cities, and many times through landscape design and many times through the kind of economic drivers of change, not just like Freddy Mamani's projects, but in a way, civic projects that transform spaces. And so going back to the sort of specifics of rooftops, the catastrophic change as a driver comes to mind in the case of China after an earthquake, after the Sichuan earthquake in 2008. Many architects went into the region, which was, if you remember, there was a number of schools were demolished and destroyed, and many young people died. And I was there the year after that happened, and there was just like a field of blue kind of UN tents, and the kind of desperate sadness that was happening in that situation was really kind of, you just felt like nothing good could ever happen there again. And so I've been following a lot of the projects and the regeneration of those towns in Jintai. And Rural Urban Framework have been developing a system of houses that have incorporated the rooftops as sort of farming initiatives and tiny rural farms that these communities can nurture themselves as a kind of tool for also restorative justice, like just that sense many of them had lost entire families had been lost during the earthquake, and so the idea of like having people be able to use their building, use the architecture as a way of restoring and finding peace again was really beautiful. And you can see here just like the really simple idea and gesture of creating that rooftop farm. I also love this project that I encountered recently by Andra Martin in Indonesia, which is I've never seen a green roof airport before, and I was really captivated by it and was so intrigued to learn more about his work in Indonesia. And a lot of the work that we're trying to do at the World Around is also trying to expose some of the connections and connectivity that we can learn from all over the world, essentially, like the type of ideas that are coming out of desperate need, and this sort of sense of catastrophe can also be applied. And I think that's very much the spirit of what Leon and Emma are doing here in terms of sharing. It's like there are so many interesting and inspiring projects that are happening all over the world. And I also love this project by Land Process. And more we're starting to get interested in landscape architecture at the World Around, because it seems to me like one of the very few opportunities to really add and be additive. I think growing things, creating sponge cities, using the idea of master planning and landscaping at scale as places that we can carbon capture, that we can use the cities as sponges, that we can use the cities as places of play, that we can use the cities as places of community. And this entire project, which is in Thailand, is also a way of kind of integrating landscape into a school life and school and landscapes there. And then another project that I wanted to share was also this one that has, I think, a really similar resonance in terms of its approach to growing. And you have a kind of, this is an urban farm in Thailand, and this is an urban farm in Palestine. This is in Ramallah and was built in 2017 by Hennigan Peng. And I wanted to just draw attention to this project as well, because I think, you know, more and more museums, and the role of museums is not just in terms of presenting, you know, simple objects or like containing ideas, but the entire project of the museum here was part of the city and was also part of a restorative gesture where they're planting olive trees that had been removed from this region, and the architects and the landscape designers were adamant that they had to be part of it. And the entire museum landscape was all about growing native foods and growing and kind of creating space for indigenous plants and plant life. And again, I think that's similar attitudes with Churnscape in China. We just see, again, so many sort of, so much unity and so much sort of shared spirit, I think, all over the world in terms of trying to come up with solutions to the climate crisis using, by growing urban farms, by using our rooftops, by using our cities, and by creating spaces of change. And again, this is a project called Feral Atlas, which is about trying to draw attention to some of those connections and those connective tissues. And then I just wanted to end with a little also restorative project that my organization is doing called the Young Climate Prize, which is our own sort of catastrophic change initiative, which supports young people. It's called Young Climate Prize for 25 people under the age of 25, and we provide mentorship to young people through the architecture industries. And over the last 2 years, we've been working with young people who have their own climate-focused projects. We connect them with architectural figures, architectural leaders, artists who provide them with guidance and try to accelerate the impact of their projects. Many of them are working on the cutting edge of innovation in their own way, in their own very earnest and important way. And our organization is trying to support them and amplify their work. As I said, yeah, this is a project that tries to invest in young people and give space for something positive to come out of what sometimes can seem a little bit of a dark time. But I hope that wasn't too. I hope that was more optimistic than it intended to be. But thank you so much for having me. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Well, yeah.
Well, thanks, Beatrice. Up to the next speaker. So people are walking. So last year's speaker, Indy Johar, he had a very good idea. Some people are nodding that they still know it. Because we all sent you an email and said, bring an extra coat, bring an extra bit. But this is the moment you could all stand up and just get warm a little bit. Just don't go for the coffee, but just... Else you're sitting all the time. Okay, and now you can sit down back again. Because we have a very nice speaker. Our next speaker is a senior advisor on urban affairs. Oh, this stirred up a lot of emotion, the whole thing. Is a senior advisor on urban affairs in Rotterdam and in Amsterdam, which is quite special, of course. And he has written this book, City Without Fear of Heights, which is about the high-rise topology in Rotterdam. And he's going to talk to us about the deceptive simplicity of rooftop development. Can I get a big applause for Emil Arends?
Thank you. So when Leon asked me to do one of the keynotes, it was like, okay, what can I say to you that you don't already know about rooftops that I know? Because you're a creative bunch of people here. You're doing rooftops, you live rooftops, you're collected in networks, you gather knowledge, you make rooftops, you design rooftops. But like one of our speakers before already said, if you look at the city from above, there are still a lot of rooftops that look a little bit like this. So I was thinking maybe I could add a little bit of input in how to get more roofs like this, or differently but usable. So imagine you standing here looking down those roofs and you think, oh, that's a really nice roof. It's free of space. You actually can do stuff on it. And you come up with a bunch of ideas and you think, let's go and fix this. So, and we did. We have a lot of roofs in Rotterdam that actually are, I'm going to trip here, I think, but I walk a lot, so I'm going to stand here. Or just use this one. No, we got a lot of roofs. You've seen some on the tours today. We know a lot of roofs. You saw a lot of roofs. So this took effort to make. It's a municipality roof. And it took quite a lot of talking to actually get this done. In fact, but we have nature roofs in the city. We have energy roofs. I like this one very much because it's not just solar. It's also wind. And we got wind on more occasions, more places than just this one. But you actually can see this landscape very good. Which is really good, but it's not really usable roof, but is sustainable energy. So at least that's it. This is the one Leon referred to, the garden at the hospital. It's a really, really nice roof. apart from seeing the skyline in a different way, which is really nice, it's also a place where you can gather, sit around, not just if you work there, but also if you're visiting there, or and it also stores tons of water. So it's also a water roof, it's a green roof, it's a place where you can meet. Blue water roofs, we've got that too, mostly in combination with green. And we got roofs that you can use to top off. So I got 2 examples, which most of you will know, but something you can do. And we got orange roofs. This one is maybe slightly familiar, but this is a playground of a primary school in the city center of Rotterdam. Just keep in mind that we are densifying the city center, not just by topping off buildings, but also building new buildings. We need about 7 primary schools within the limits of the city center. They'll need a playground of at least 700 square meters, and there isn't any space to do it. So the only logical solution is use roofs more for stuff like this. But this is the only example I could find in Rotterdam that we actually have a schoolyard on top of a building. And we got a lot of grey roofs. So I took this aerial picture of the city of Rotterdam, and you would love to see more green, you would love to see more uses of the buildings, but in fact a lot of those buildings still are grey. So we haven't fully harnessed the potential of the city. And it's not that we don't know it. We did a lot of studies. This is a study we did with NVRDV a couple of years ago. We got about 18 kilometers of flat roofs in the city, which is quite a lot. So what if you do 10% of topping? That's like 15,000 houses. What if you do 45% with solar panels? That's over 1 million households for sustainable energy, stuff like this. So we actually know the potential of roofs. We all know the potential of roofs. The fun part is if you can combine those roofs and you can do water and you can do energy, you actually can have the amplifier on it. And we did some more studies. This is with solar architects. One is here in the front. It's about getting the top off buildings and look at the buildings in a more realistic way. So if you just cut down everything with wooden poles, and if you push down everything after 1985, where we used just the right amount of concrete for the buildings, or everything in between, say 1920, 1985, it's probably usable to top off buildings. Then you actually could do, if you look at zoning plan, stuff like this, all the works around it, you could add up to about 60,000 houses, which is really great. But it doesn't happen too much. We know it. So, and another one I need to mention is the study we did with the urbanisten. It's more of a climate, green stuff, but it's also about typology. If you have places that are high dense, if you build in a high density, maybe solar panels is not the way to go. The competition for space is fierce, and if you can use roofs for different stuff than just solar panels in places where you have a lot of people, that's not really intelligent. So this is a study about what should you do where in the city to actually optimize roofs. So, and there is a golden roof combination. You can do all stuff, all cool stuff. So this is also one of the studies we did. So you actually can see we have really good examples in the city. We have the studies, we have people like you all that actually are inventing and talking to each other and organizing stuff. So, what are we up to? We're about 120 acres of roofs that have been greened, have been topped, have been laid full with electricity, stuff like this. So 120 acres is about 250 football pitches. So that's quite a lot, but keep in mind we have 18 kilometers of square roofs. So if we are starting in 2001, which I also didn't know the bamboo construction. So 2001, all the way up to now, 120 acres is not that much. Question is, why not? So I picked out some things where I think it's really Good. We got a Dutch building code, which states how you can build, what you can build, and there are some safety regulations in place. One of the things that is really interesting is that if you build up to a certain height represents safety. So if you go over 20 meters, you got extra safety regulations. So if you have like a 4-story building and you put some layers on top of that building, you got extra regulations, which means you need new staircases, maybe elevators. You need to not just build something on top of that roof, you have to adjust the building below as well, which is more or less financially kind of a stretch to build something on and then do the entire building itself. So those things aren't helping topping off buildings. So you look at a roof and you think, well, maybe this is a building where we could put another layer, and then safety regulations, building code regulations start to kick in, and it doesn't look that easy anymore. So you need to do a lot more extra. And this is especially for new buildings, BREEAM codes. Really good that we have them. So it stimulates people actually to make better, more sustainable buildings. But I have been told a green roof is about 2 points in the outstanding certification of buildings, which is nice that you get points for green roofs, but you get more points for heat cold storage on the ground, which is also accounting for, the points you need to get excellent or outstanding buildings. Point is, if a developer builds a building, that's really fine, but you can't make money from a green roof. You can make money off a cold heat storage. So if a developer is choosing what to get to the points of outstanding, he probably would not build a green roof if he's not obligated to do so. So that's maybe a reason why a lot of new buildings actually don't have the roofs you would expect them to have, seeing that we are all working, say, 25 years on roofs. Another thing is our housing associations, if I say it correctly in English, our VVA's, which are really good because, like the building code of this is more or less about new buildings, but we've got a lot of old buildings, and most of those buildings are owned by housing corporations, but a lot of them are owned by individual persons who are collected in a housing association. If you want to do something on a roof, you have to have the agreement of the entire housing association to do so. On a national level, there's a debate now going on. Should we change the rules of housing associations? 51% of the votes in favor. Should that be enough to do something on the roof? Which sounds like a really good idea, because you need a 100% approval rate actually to do something on a roof. This is a brilliant plan in Rotterdam, drawn by someone who had an idea on the roof, but it didn't make it because some people in the housing association weren't in favor of the plan. So a lot of those plans stay where they are as a plan and not being realized. The other way around, if you make it a 51% approval rate of an housing association, and for instance, you say we want solar panels on the roof, and everyone has to pay an additional 5,000 or 6,000 euros to get it done, you actually have some people that don't have the money, that you get financial problems if you have 51% approval rate. So there is a slight problem with having those approval rates, but it's something we need to address. How do housing associations can get stuff like this past not having 100% approval rate? Another thing is parking. If you top buildings off, it sounds really easy. Yeah? So if you, the example in the back are a lot of houses, but say you do 2 layers, which is like 20, 25 houses, and you apply for a permit, one of the questions you will get is, where do you park your car? Because you've got 25 houses, we got car regulations in place, let's say 1 car per house, or a half a car, that's like 12, 13 people. and you're already doing this in places where there is a really high pressure on the parking spaces in the public domain. Chances are it will fail on this, you know. And even if you get a permit to build, maybe the people in the neighborhood are starting to protest that there are extra parking spaces coming too. And so it's not really a good way to deal. What you could do as a municipality, say you could build here, but you don't get a parking permit for these houses, which sounds pretty good. But it's something you need to organize as a municipality actually to do so. Another thing, and this differs from city to city, is that if you add value to a building, you also add value to the ground. So what's happening in regular project development is that project developers give money for the added value to the municipality. And it works also if you top off buildings. So if you top off buildings, you add value. Some of the value stays in the building, but some of that value you have to give to the municipality. In general, that's the rule. And that we saw in the past that it actually made some plans impossible to get a financial scheme solid or approved to actually build this. So if we want to speed up mainstream and not doing pilots all over again, but actually want to do this stuff, we have to address these kinds of issues. Otherwise, it will be nice examples and pilots, stuff like this.
Yeah.
So if you're standing on a roof like this and you're looking down and there's a lot of things you can do with this roof, keep in mind that there are a lot of stuff you actually have to fix that's not in the public domain or not in the spatial domain. So if you're an architect and if you're an urban planner or you're a creative person, you think, oh, you can do a lot with this. It actually means you need to know about finance, you need to know about legislation, you need to know about policies, you need to know about a lot of other stuff, let alone the technical installation of the building itself, to actually get it done. And then you have the housing association, stuff like this. So there are some stuff in the Dutch building code that we need to address if we want to speed up using roofs for green programs, stuff like this. There are some things we have to look into how housing association works on such a level that we actually can speed up processes and not shoot off nice examples of initiatives on roof by one vote, which is, if you think of it, kind of insane if you have a really big housing association. As a municipality, where I work for, you also need to address the fact that if you want to make stuff more feasible, maybe you have to do something about the way our financial system is in place right now. And don't take a portion of the money to get your ground value as we used to do. Parking regulations, something we as a municipality are in charge of, and we can actually decide to do stuff differently. But it's not just a spatial problem or a spatial creativity person who thinks of something, it actually is the entire package. So deceptive simplicity. If you look at this roof, you would say you can do a lot of stuff, and within 4 or 5 years later, you're still looking at the same roof and it looks the way it is because of legislation, policies, municipality, financial, technical, stuff like this. So we know this. And that's good. We all found stuff out. We did our studies. We have like the Dakendagen to get knowledge in. We got everything. So the next step, and it's not to be like having a depressing note. No, far from it. It's like we know this now. And we know this because we are doing this for 25 years. The next step is get all those barriers in place. Get answers to the barriers and make sure you take the barriers away to actually speed up the process of using roofs instead of having one pilot after another. And I think I'm in the end of my presentation, Liam.
Then I have so Then I have a question for you, of course, because now we know all this and we are positive about knowing this. Do we see any willingness at the municipality of Rotterdam and of Amsterdam to make that change? Do you see any hint of going into that direction? Because you talk to the alderman and all the people like that. Yeah, you do. And she has this really inspiring speech and saying, I want to, but when you're with her in the back room, is she still so enthusiastic?
Well, yes. If you talk about having like the smaller stuff placed on top, you know, like 4 or 5 houses or like 10 or 12, that's a little bit different than building 20, 30 or 50 or like buildings like the Phoenix where you build 200, 250 houses. The fact is, if you start stretching off the financial system, then where do you stop? So you actually have to rethink that really closely, because we all think that a project developer should pay money adding value to a ground if you build a big building. So where do you put the boundary? I think it's debatable, especially now the densification comes in, we have the roofs. We know it's a problem, but a financial problem is tricky, but we're talking about it. Parking, for instance, that's a lot easier. Yeah. So we actually can say you can build extra houses, but you don't get any permit on the street, but you can add program, then problem solved. But that means something for the real estate you build, especially if it's a commercial developer. It does something to the price, and if it doesn't get the value you think you have with a parking permit, it mostly do something with the business case of adding program. So we can do, I know the province is involved with coaches, I know the national government is involved, and we need those parties as well. So we as a municipality can do a lobby or can start a discussion to get like building code adjustment, stuff like this, what we actually need. But all those small barriers, and there are much more barriers, but if you add all those barriers up, we know now from all the pilots we did, we actually can make sure we get rid of them, have a workaround of have some options to bypass the barrier, to actually speed up the process of using roofs. But otherwise, we're standing here in 4, 5, 6 years again on the roof, and we have some really good pilots, and then we don't have 18 hectares, but we got 22. And we're still not getting. Yeah, and we still. But you're positive. There. But I'm really positive because this helps. No. Okay. No, knowing the problem is half of the solution. Yeah. So to say.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Emil Arends. So then the next speaker and the last speaker of today. We're very happy to have her because she's a very busy woman now, also riding in and going out because she has a lot to do. She's a very renowned and internationally famous architect. She built this building here blocking our view, but she also did design the first building of, she was founder and at this moment director of Meccano. The first building that she did design and build is in the center of Rotterdam, and it was also the first building that we, as even, it wasn't the Rotterdam rooftop days then, but the first rooftop I ever programmed was of the rooftop of the Kruisplein flats in the center of Rotterdam, which was the first Meccano building. So I have a very warm feeling about that. What do I can say more? One of the reasons I asked her is that she had made a lot of publicly accessible rooftop. I studied in Delft, and we had this rooftop with the grass landscape on it. And she made also in Birmingham, in Chicago, in New York, libraries with publicly accessible rooftops. And I think publicly accessible rooftops are very important. And we're very keen to hear her story. Can I get a warm welcome for Francine Hube? I'm very sorry it's that cold here, but that's what we do when we're on the roof. Yeah, no. So you're totally allowed, because we would like to have you have a warm experience here with us.
Thank you so much. Yeah, first of all, I when Leon asked me to come, or I think we met each other, I said, because to be honest, I'm a big fan of the Rotterdamse Dakendagen and also all the times what you did on the roofs of Rotterdam, and I brought all my family and all my office. You have to see this. So I'm a big, big fan. So when you ask me, I say I come. But for many reasons, maybe. Let me see, does this work? This is me, yeah. So of course, but at the same time, I think, what's a roof? Because I think you should not think too banal on it. So in a way, for me, let me reflect, of course, what you said with the library. You know, it's a roof, it's a landscape, it's a park. So I want to have a much more wider interpretation of what a roof is, and that's maybe something for you in the future. And of course, how it changes and deals with the changing of the seasons. Or even what you just mentioned, I realized, hey, come on, the very first roof terrace we made on the Kruisplein. But what for me was very crucial, I don't want them to make them on top of buildings. I want people to see it. So it was a very big decision of us not to put it on the bigger, highest part of the building, but on the in-between part, because then people can look at it. Because for me, the big risk, especially in the Netherlands, if you put things on top of your roof, nobody will ever go there or see it. And of course, in a way, for me, has been a theme always to make what I call, how should I call it in the Netherlands? Because everybody wants to be on street level, try to make as much street levels as possible in a building. Like these ones that we did, maybe, I don't know if you know this project, I think it's one of the most beautiful housing projects we did, to the double-deckers, to make different layers of, to stack public spaces. Or even what is it, the roof? Is it a balcony? It's about connecting people. I want people to use it. This is a project in Amsterdam we are doing. Or even this one, this is in Taiwan. What we do here is stacking, this is social housing, affordable housing in Taiwan, and we are stacking pieces of landscape as public spaces stacked on each other. And it's really, because again, I never want to put it out of sight. I want to see people to use it, that it becomes a place where people meet. And of course, it's also the greening of the city. So this is on, I think this is on the 8th floor, for instance. But it's for me also, and that's what we did already for the Kruisplein. It's a community space. It's a shared space. It's a collective space. Just quickly. It's also, I realize I always try to use the roof, like here in Boston, and we did this, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe. On top of this building, we made an amazing roof, what we made accessible as a public terrace, although it's a municipal building. But from that, you have, that's also the same here, you have amazing views. And this was in a neighborhood with a lot of poor people. And for them, it was so important to get on this is maybe on the 6th or 7th floor, I think, that they could look back to their neighborhood, what made them very proud. But again, I didn't put it on the highest level, I put it on an in-between level. Or here, this one, it's a building of Mies van der Rohe, so it's not in Chicago, but it's in Washington, because what is typical for the United States, they have what they call mechanical penthouses. Here we call it penthouses. It's very luxury. I live there. No, it's just for mechanics. And the roofs, they look like this. So I said, okay, but what is interesting again here, also on this level, all of Washington is a kind of 10 stories high. Our building was just 5 stories high. And we made this as a roof. But again, for me, it's like a pocket park in the city. And again, it's surrounded, because we are the only low building in the whole inner city area. It's like a pocket park. And again, people look at it. It's surrounded. Again, creating kind of stacked public space, or stacked, I don't know the good word. Iedereen wil op de begane grond wonen, dus je moet heel veel begane gronden maken. Is that the Dutch way? Yes? That's my way. Also what I want to do with roofs. I want to play with I want to create many street levels. This is an amazing roof if you ever go there. And also that's why I go quick, really, I go wrong. Oh, this is back, yeah. Sorry, I'm a little bit, because it's just 20 minutes, I think I have to run. Is that true or not?
Take all the time you want.
Okay, yeah, but I have a car, but my car is parked there. And I'm not on the... but also it's a very important issue, because because I totally agree with also Emile just told you, but it's very important how to get there. If you want to create this roof, and it's not just greening the city, what is extremely important, but it has a collective feeling, you should also have a journey to get there. And that's what we did in this building. It has the most beautiful stair we created in this building. It's a journey, and at the end you get to the roof. So it's also how to get there, but also how to make it visible. Otherwise, a lot of these roofs, especially in... also, we have to realize here in Rotterdam, we are a low-dense city. So I also want people to have them on the street. So if I create a space like this, I have even never been here. Of course, it's nice, but it's not that public. So that's what we did. Nice, huh? It's just now selected as the best building of the United States, and we'll get an award in the White House next week. And it's a transformation. But also here what we did in New York, and again, then I come back to Rotterdam, because it's really a difference about what is high density and what is not high density. Maybe, as you know, we did the New York Public Library, not just this building, but also if you ever go to New York, also the building across. So I will talk about the building across. What was the building like? A department store that became, it is the same, almost the same age as the other building. A lot of people think they are from the same period. And what we did, because what I like, it's a Beaux-Arts area. In that area, I had Beaux-Arts architecture. And Beaux-Arts architecture often has heads on the building. So I said, I make a wizard head, because it's a library, and put it on top of that building. And they're extremely proud of this, because also this is mid-Manhattan. And normally, roof terraces, like maybe also this one, it's just for the rich people. You know, you have to pay for it, or you have to drink. Here is the only roof accessible, with a nice stair also, and a way to get there, where everybody can go. It's really public. And of course, we did this in the Library of Birmingham. I'm also, again, reflecting on myself when you asked me to give a talk about roof. I always try to put them not on the highest point. I want that other people can look at it. Here we made 2 of them, really nice gardens. But for me, these gardens were also very educational. For this, again, this is a library. I wanted people, a lot of kids even don't know that an apple comes from a tree. Or I want to give them a whole garden of, the top garden is what we call the secret garden. What is not secret anymore, of course. But with hills and with all herbs. So people can smell the senses, you know, of the different things. And of course, we even make, now that's almost finished, a building what is totally covered as one big roof is the Museum of Natural History in Abu Dhabi. But for me, to be honest, I want to talk about the big scale. Because that's also about roofs. This is in Kaohsiung. It's the harbor, it's the Rotterdam of Taiwan. It's the harbor city of Taiwan. And what they did, I have no clue if you can see the images. Can you see it or not? Yeah. But in a way, it's interesting. And then I come back to the Rotterdamse Dakendagen. It's interesting what they did. They put the railroad underground. We did design. It's a subtropical city, so it's also thinking about the climate. What is the issue here in Rotterdam? And what we did, we made this whole linear park. We had it. The railroad track went underground, so that becomes a linear park in the city. And what we did is to make this linear park going up over the new railway station, making space underneath. This was a tropical space, because here you have to protect from the rain and the sun. It can be very warm and very wet in Kaohsiung. And what we did, of course, testing the whole wind and getting natural ventilation, not air conditioning, everything. But here, this is interesting what we did. This is a very nice image here. It's now almost finished. So you see all this long line of this linear park. And we made an immense roof as a park. You can even bike over the railway station. The whole park continues. And this is now, look how nice. Rather impressive, isn't it? But that brings me to the Netherlands again. Because as I told you in the beginning, I want to think, hey, what's a roof? There are many more roofs. It's not just, on top of a building. And I totally agree. We have a big task here in Rotterdam, what Emile just said about what to do with all the flat roofs of not just the housing corporations. This whole issue is really also with the VVA's. I don't know what's the name for that. All the different ownership of every portiek. It's a big issue. And that also has to do with laws and I don't know. But it's extremely important to take that part, what Emile said, to solve that. But again, this is the spoorzone in Dordrecht, where you have this railroad, not a railroad, it's just connecting Zwijndrecht with Dordrecht, what we want to connect as a green park, linear park, connecting the two cities. Is it a roof? What is it? Or even, of course, maybe a lot of you know my idea about the Dakendagen, the Rotterdamse Dakendagen. I also want to organize the Rotterdamse Dakendagen. Dijkdays, is that a word? Yes? Yeah. So I want to introduce, and I hope Leon will help me a little bit with his organization about that idea. Because it's extremely interesting. Because is a dike is maybe also a roof. And look at this map, how many dikes we have in Rotterdam. And how there are barriers in our city, especially in the southern part of Rotterdam. And they are blocking things. What can we do with them? And I came up with this idea to make a 15-kilometer long dike park in Rotterdam. And I'm very serious about this. So we continue with that. And for me, it's very important. I can talk a whole hour about this. But for me, also the dike made the barrier between the harbors and the people who live, and the people who work in the harbor, and the people who live in the neighborhoods. So I want similar like what we did in, I don't know if you know our plans for what we did in the park in Delft. I want that the dike becomes not a barrier, but a big connector between people. And that is very needed, not just for the people, but it's also for heat stress, it's for biodiversity, is bringing a much more positive feeling and introduction to all the workload in the harbor and the businesses that are in the harbor that also need good people. And I want to connect them with the people who have maybe no jobs, who live in, for instance, in Rotterdam South. So, and also to think about, here it's also about ownership. It's not just the roofs of buildings, but there's a lot of more ownership and legal issues about this. And how can we change that and how that may come true? So we made a lot of ideas about how we can make this dike as a linear park, a dike park in it. We started to come up, was very near here, where was it? Over there, I think. We had this in the Architectuurmaand in the Maasilo, big discussions with all people. How can we make this dike park coming through? We had ideas of how people could, what ideas they wanted to have with that. And we have a whole plan how we are talking about a lot of Rotterdam becomes one like a nature park, and that the dikes play a very important role in this. We're talking to the Hollandse Delta, so it's the water, laten we eens even kijken. Water Authority, hè? Ja. De Hoogheemraadschap, ja? And we're talking to the harbor. And so we want to create this big park, and we want to make an event of this. So in September, we're also talking with the Honey Highway. So we also want to kind of, I think you did such a great job in like walking over all the roofs, or what you're doing now, what you're organizing. I think it's such an eye opener to the city. I'm very much from a bottom up urban planning, and also all the ideas that you are sharing here. So I would love to work together. And we made a whole plan how we want to organize it. So the first Dakendag, it will be very small maybe, but it's a start, will be in September. So I hope you will all join and help us. It's bottom up. And Leon, I hope you will help me a little bit. Yeah. And what is a roof?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. The thing I always have to convince people that we not have to go to the highest roof, because that's not that interesting. Then you can go to the Euromast, you have a great view, but the nicest experience is indeed being on a rooftop in between buildings, which I like. What the question? And I want to help you. Let's that be said. And the other thing, what I find because a lot of people who want public rooftops, and you said it was really nice that it was not only for rich people, it was accessible for everybody, and we can make nice stairs. But a lot of project developers I speak to, they say it's way too much hassle. All those people going into my building, don't have no control over them. And you are sitting there, you're making the building, you say, no, we want to make this public, accessible for everybody. And they say, no, that's a lot of hassle. What do you say?
We didn't make it for. It depends of the developer. But for instance, what was maybe the biggest thing was the Boston municipal offices, but was for educational municipal offices. So there was a kind of way that we could make it public, and that also on that level, again, not on the highest level, but on the in-between level, and that we combined it with programming, that we had their kind of meeting spaces and a small exhibition. So you also have to think in a logic way how you program, what you program on the lower ground floor, the ground floor, and the mezzanine level. All these also there you want to have many levels, but then you make a connection to go, for instance, to the 5th level. But it makes people very proud of their own city.
Yeah, I think so too. So you say it's a part of a larger programming thing.
Yeah. You have to think how you stack program in your functions in your building.
Okay. Well, can I have a big hand of applause for Francine Huber?
Yeah.